Okay, hit it.
Okay.
Do you know my name? That's all I care that you know. And then other than that, I'll tell you can know nothing.
Okay.
I'll start you from scratch.
Great.
Are we recording?
Rolling.
Are we rolling on the
Yeah, we're rolling.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Sam, you want to start?
Okay. When did you learn how to play instruments?
Well, how old are you guys? How old are you?
I'm 9.
I'm 13.
Okay, well, my mother taught me the chords to Country Roads, Take Me Home, and I was about grade 8. Grade 8, so I knew nothing before that. My prehistory on picking up a guitar is that I liked music since I was about since forever, but when I was in grade 2, Kiss Destroyer came out, and I was like big into that, and then I went backwards, got into their whole catalog, and so I wanted to play music, and in fact, like I got on stage in front of my class wearing a denim vest with no t-shirt and did an original at a gong show in Scarborough when I was a kid, so that'd be 76 or something like that, 77. How old were you in 77?
Minus
zero.
something.
Right,
Yeah,
right, sorry. So I didn't know how to play anything then, but we did have some production value because it was one of those like little paper drum sets, kids drum sets, and we put like talcum powder or baby powder on it, so when you hit them like this, it was like smoke. And some guy brought a real electric guitar and did a solo, but I don't think he knew how to play. And so it was an original song of mine, and it was a cross between Saturday Night by the Bay City Rollers and Shout It Out Loud by Kiss. So, and a couple of my own lyrics stuck in there. And then my mother could play guitar, so she taught me how to chord when I was in about grade 8. And I started playing with other kids in grade 9 or 10, and we would play Louie Louie, 99 Red Balloons. Trying to think of what was on that tape. It was terrible music, and we really didn't know how to play. And I've seen you guys play, and you guys are kids, and it's sort of still, like I'm happy for you, but I'm actually just more mad and jealous that I didn't know what was going on when I was your age. Is that so wrong of me?
Well, I think you just need to. Well, you're good now. So
Yeah.
it's all okay.
I'm okay, but if you guys get too big too fast,
Then
I'm not going to be happy for you. I'm not
Or
going to
we're
be
just
happy.
going to become messed up child stars, which is never a good
That's
thing.
right. That's the flip side. If you're too good too soon, then what are you going to do? Or if you get too popular too soon, it's good to stay hungry. It's good to stay hungry your whole life, so that even I at 47, I still feel like I wish that, I want more or whatever. I'm not in a sort of greedy way, but I'm still hungry I still enjoy working and doing it. I'm glad I didn't make $1 million at age 20, and then I'd be like, well, I don't have to do anything for the rest of my life. I think I'll go, be a non-contributor to society. What was the question?
I don't remember.
It was,
When did I start?
yeah, when
I started around, I would say, junior high. Actually, I took guitar lessons in grade 3, but I never even made it to the guitar. It was all ta-ta, ti-ti-ta, and I was already into Kiss. I essentially wanted to go to my lesson in full makeup, and I couldn't believe it was ta-ta, ti-ti-ta. I was too cool to do it. But if I had done it, then I'd be really good now, instead of just barely passable, which is what I am.
Well, I think you're selling yourself short right now.
But that's my job to do that. You guys pump me up.
What were we
Part
talking
2.
about?
Part 2, next
Okay.
question.
Okay.
I want to ask a question.
Okay, ask a question.
What inspires you to write?
I don't know. I find the music part really easy and fun, and I find the lyrics part a drag. When I was a kid, I had a book of poetry and wrote stuff all the time, but now I'm way ahead in music. I have lots of music ideas, and then I just at the end, I'm like, I have to fill this with, basically I have to walk around writing poetry so that I can fill these songs, which feels sillier and sillier as I go on. But, Sloan has over 200 songs, so I've already written about everything there is. Well, that's not true, and I didn't write all of the songs, actually. But I really like songs that have good lyrics. I don't mean to say that I just, barf them out or they're no good, I don't consider them. But it's the hardest part. I find I can come up with a good melody and chord sequence, but good lyrics are the hardest. What about you? Where do you go?
Oh, lyrics are probably the harder part, yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Everything sounds cheesy if you try too hard, and then
I don't know because I don't write songs.
I must admit that I often I try to avoid the earnestness of it, and I always end up making even things that I care about, I end up sort of making into a bit of a joke. So maybe I sell the songs short. But sometimes I'm earnest, I guess. But I usually try to make things true and funny.
When you started playing music, were you planning on doing it as a living?
Certainly not. As I say, I'd never even known anybody who ever made a record before, except for these kids in my high school. And I don't think they sold very many of them.
Yeah.
But we were really happy. So there was two... But the idea of the music business, it sort of divides my life. There was the time when I didn't even know what the business was, and that was probably the happiest, And then once you're in the business, I don't think that I had to make that many concessions to the business side of it, but there's part of it that's really not as fun.
Yeah,
and
happens.
I've written about that before, kind of thing. The sort of the idea of doing things that you love versus doing things that make you money. And I've been lucky in that I've been able to sort of walk the line, because it's hard. You want to be successful, bring in some money and stuff, but you don't want to make garbage.
Well, when you started your band, was it hard to find musicians who really fit with it?
Yeah, I played in a bunch of different bands. So I started playing in bands in 85, 86, and I didn't really find the band that sort of was going to be, which is Sloan, until 91. So there were 5 years of just being in different bands and never unhappy, but just there was, again, with there being no expectation of making money. It would just be, you just play for a while, you play a bunch of shows, and you're like, well, what else is there to do? And so we already played shows, and it's great knowing you guys, and then you'd pack it in. So it was funny, and everybody would do that in our music scene in Halifax. And then when Sloan got lucky and got this record deal, then everybody was in the band that they were in. They were kind of like, so this is my band now. I guess the band that I'm in, we're all in these gelled bands, even though that it probably would have gone that those bands wouldn't have lasted many more months, and then I would have traded bands, just played with different friends. But I really just thought of it as something to do with friends. And then again, once we got lucky young enough that we were never that desperate. We were all right up until we got a break, we were just farting around and doing it for fun, and still farting around and doing it for fun too. But we have to put up with each other. Think about being siblings or whatever. It's you have to, I've been in the same band 25 years with these guys, so something that happened in 1991, I'm still mad about it or whatever. So add 25 years to your resentment, and I tell you.
What's your favorite album that you recorded?
Well, I like the record that came out 20 years ago called One Chord to Another. Was our most commercially successful record, and I like that one especially because we had sort of decided to pack it in as a band. We weren't really going to be a band, and we had just made our second record. We made for what I thought was way too much money, and I didn't like spending the money, and I didn't like the expectation of dealing with a record label. And they gave us a bunch of money before we recorded, and they were like, I hope you make something we like. And I didn't like that. I like making a record and then somebody says, I like that, I'll give you some money for that, as opposed to, here's some money first, I better like this. I just felt, so much pressure.
Yeah.
So I really liked to be able to make it on our own with our own money, and if it succeeded and if somebody wanted to pay us some money for us, that would be great. I didn't like the pressure of the second record. So our third record, we made it for really cheap. We did whatever we wanted, and we just did it on weekends with our own money, and then that was our most commercially successful record, and I like the story. And also, in our band, it's a real effort to make everybody contribute equally, and by the third record, I think we were really successful in doing that. You guys uncomfortable?
With the rain.
Yeah. You guys okay?
I'm worried about the iPads.
Yeah. Let's
pretty good.
take it seriously. Part 3, just a second. Just finishing. It's my agent. I'm so busy. I'm joking. No one calls me.
He's 7. Agent 7.
Exactly.
He's very demanding.
Ready? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any regrets about becoming a musician?
Well, no. Sometimes I regret that we didn't work harder when we were younger, so we weren't rolling in dough now. But I think that we tried to make it so that we weren't total road dogs, on tour for 300 nights a year, so that we didn't end up hating each other by year 3 kind of thing. We did a combination. We hated each other, but we decided to keep going. These jokes not funny, eh?
They're very dark. Some dark humor.
Too dark? No.
Tough crowd.
What my regrets be? No, I mean, I want my kids to be scientists. I don't want to have musician kids. I want them to save the planet through knowing science. You guys are part of the problem.
Whoa.
Do you have any jobs other than playing music?
I've done a couple of things for money. I worked on a movie called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Have you heard of that movie?
No.
It's a pretty cool movie. You guys would probably like it. It's about music, and video games and martial arts and stuff. It's a real kind of a genre mix-up. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's Michael Cera. Do you know Michael Cera?
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it? I was in charge of trying to make the non-musician actors look like they could actually play. And I had varying degrees of success. Some of them looked terrible, and some of them were great. Michael Cera didn't need my help. He's a really good musician. What else? Not much else. We haven't really had to have other jobs, but getting tighter. I gotta think of something. Not to be dark. I'm keeping it light here. Everything's good.
Okay. Do you always write for the sake of creating something, or would you ever have a time when you just wrote because you haven't put out anything very recently?
Who's getting dark? I do both, probably. I always like to keep a backlog of material. Admittedly, with Sloan, we don't get together and say, let's write a record about growing up, or let's write a record about Halifax, or everybody just throws together whatever they've got finished, and we make an album out of that. We don't do much, of these 40 songs, these 12 would make a really coherent album. It's basically just okay, we've got 11. Does anybody have a 12th? You do? Okay, I think we can put something out. All 4 of us write in Sloan, so at the rate of putting out a 12-song record every 2 years, I only have to write about a song and a half a year. So I don't have to write that often. But I have a big backlog of at least half-baked ideas. And I'm usually the one who pulls the trigger these days on guys, we need to do something. And I haven't done it in a while. Our last full-length record, our last studio record was 2014. So it's been a while. We should be on it, but we haven't been doing anything. We haven't been really writing. But I think once we pull the trigger, people will just say, oh, here's what I got. What about yourself? Do you write because it's there, or because...
I write a lot of the time because I have to have some more stuff because I want to get another album.
Oh, okay. The pressure from the record company?
What's your lifestyle like?
It's pretty good. I get to spend a lot of time with my kids, and sometimes I wish I were busier and making more money, but sometimes I think I've got it pretty good because I can make a living and I'm home all the time with my kids. And that's good because they're young, and I was there for all of that early development. And now they don't need me anymore. No, I'm just kidding. They're 6 and 8, and I don't know. I have a pretty lucky life. Like, I just bumming around, getting coffee, and it's like, can you do an interview with some kids? I'm like, I think I have time. I don't think I'm doing anything.
When recording a song, how do you know when to stop?
That's a good question. Sometimes I'm so late on doing the lyrics that I'm basically recording the tambourine, thinking I'm going to have to write lyrics soon. But I know that whenever you have a song, some of my earlier songs, I had all the lyrics figured out, and then so I would do a bed track and then sing it, and then I'd be like, this doesn't need very much. But these days I'm like, should we double this tambourine? Because I'm just avoiding writing the lyrics. But and yes, double the tambourine always. Those of you at home, that's a good question. Sometimes I have a song called "Coax Me" from 1994, and it's got a really cool guitar part, and I wrote the guitar part, but I often just write chord progressions and melodies. So just because I had that guitar part, I didn't do too many tricks with the chord progression. I was just like, that's enough. This is fine. But sometimes when I just write chords and melodies, I put too many chords in, and I make it what they call a chord circus. There's like too many chords because I think something has to happen here. But what I should do is just keep a few chords and have a cool guitar part. But I can never think of the guitar part. I have a cool guitar part.
What do you like about touring, and what do you like about being in the studio recording?
Touring is fun because it's the band, and then the people that are in our crew are all just our good friends. Yeah. So really, when I'm at home, I'm just a family guy. And when I go on tour, I stay up late with my friends, burping and farting and stuff. So it's really fun. And not having to deal with my kids and getting up whenever I want to. So it's really easy. Being at home is harder because kids, you need a lot of attention and stuff. Yeah. But so I love. We're never away so long. Like if you're in a band like Metallica, and you're like, where are we next week? Oh, we're in Turkey, and then you're all over the world. But for us, for Sloan, we really are in Canada and about a dozen shows in the States. So like our touring year, if we have a record out, is 50 shows maybe. So that'd be a big tour. So I'm not playing in the South America and all that kind of stuff. So I always love going on tour. I like leaving my family. See you later, guys. But I also love coming home. So I always think that I have a perfect balance of that. Mm-hmm. And also, like, just a sidebar on that, like I never got so famous that fame is a drag. Sometimes I get people over-validating me for not having done much. They're like, hey, I like that song you did. I'm like, great. But like if you are actually famous, then I think it probably becomes a drag. It never happened to me. But if you were Michael Jackson or whoever, I don't know. Are there any famous people who are still alive? Beyonce. It's probably hard for her. She can't walk down the street. But being in the studio, I also love, and what do I love about it? I like having an idea go from my voice memos on my phone to a full-fledged song. Mm-hmm. Or hearing it on the radio. That's pretty fun too.